Welcome to Marketing Mixologists, the podcast that brings together marketing and mixology for an exciting journey into modern-day marketing.
We think marketing should be like your favorite cocktail, fully balanced, flavorful, and memorable.
We'll explore all things related to marketing, from understanding the basics to uncovering advanced strategies.
With special guests joining us each episode, we'll share insights from experts in the field and share our favorite drinks.
Whether you like it shaken or stirred, grab your favorite beverage and join us as we learn more about how powerful marketing can be when mixed well. Cheers!
Welcome, Sarah Spencer. Thank you for being with us today. We're thrilled to have you here to discuss the groundbreaking role of AI in your company and the industry at large. Could you start us off by giving us a brief intro of yourself and your company, SolonTech?
Hi, thank you for having me, guys. I'm Sarah Spencer. I'm the CEO of SolonTech Corporation. We are a cybersecurity service provider, and we also developed a platform, Valkyrie, that is based on artificial intelligence and automation for discovering and remediating risk in an environment.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. We're excited to have you. So our first question is, how has your company leveraged AI technologies in your operations or services, and what specific benefits to that have you observed?
We started leveraging artificial intelligence and automation, again, for monitoring technical flaws, misconfigurations, and vulnerabilities. But then we started using it in marketing, and our marketing game skyrocketed. So we're really excited about that.
Can you tell us a little bit? I know, Sarah, we had connected on LinkedIn because you had posted an intriguing a post, in my opinion, about someone had asked you if you hired a assistant, and your comment, obviously got my attention when it came down to the end where you said, no, I use AI to help with my own outreach on LinkedIn. So can you just kind of walk us through how you're seeing? I mean, obviously, cybersecurity is a huge thing. There's a lot of controversy between cybersecurity and, AI and ChatGPT and, everything else that's popping up now. But from a marketing perspective, can you kind of just walk us through how you're leveraging? I mean, as a CEO, I can relate. I'm overwhelmed. Luckily, I have some help, including AI. But we really got connected when, I had mentioned specifically about, AI from a marketing perspective, taking away the brand, the personalized approach to marketing, which is really, basically dehumanizing it. So then we obviously sparked a conversation about that. But can you just kind of walk us through your comments about and your thoughts on how you believe that it's helping your company, both from a marketing perspective and then the fact that you are using human and AI together to achieve, your marketing efforts?
Yeah, so over the course of 4 years, I've hired several marketing and social media experts. And what I found is technology and cybersecurity is a huge topic, and it's really hard for them to get up to speed on that if they haven't been doing it for a number of years. And when I started using ChatGPT by putting my own ideas in there, my own paragraphs, and asking ChatGPT to wordsmith it and create a captivating post or a captivating newsletter, ChatGPT is so creative. It was able to take my initial thoughts and turn it into a well thought out post like the one about using AI for my marketing. And when I started doing that, yes, I started getting a lot of feedback. Like, did you hire a marketing person? Oh my gosh, this is great. And I'm like, no, I hired AI. And I found that ChatGPT was able to do the work of 5 people. So I'm able to get content that's relevant out there faster. Even one of the posts, which ChatGPT, if you don't pay, only goes back to October 2021. And so I was able to put the post up about Spotify. I wrote an initial draft of maybe 4 or 5 paragraphs, sent it to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT was able to wordsmith it in a way that was captivating, a lot more creative than I'm able to do. I'm an engineer, so I'm not really on the creative side. And it's just so impressive. Now, when we talk about cybersecurity and ethics and copyright issues, I'm very careful that what I'm putting in there is giving the ChatGPT or the AI the ideas and the type of tone that I want to use. And if you use the paid version, I think the generative ability of ChatGPT is a lot greater. But when you use the free version, as long as you stay in the same chat window, it is generative. And what I mean by that is that the AI is able to learn from you. And I'm going to call her a she because that's my avatar for her. She is able to learn and understand that I don't like this type of language, or I want these emojis placed here. And I think it just shows the ability of artificial intelligence. Now, I was working with a customer who's building artificial intelligence around documents, and this is like a legal firm, right? So they're using the chat GPT to summarize briefs and sort of help come up with what important topics and finding the case law. And they're having problems because the chat GPT is really creative. So if there's a null field, meaning the field is missing, let's say the person's address, and maybe the address is missing for a reason, they're saying, you know, we're working with this company and they can't solve this problem. And AI will just put any address in there or make up something. It is so creative. And nobody's able to solve this problem. And I'm like, oh, well, I solved that problem 5 years ago. You need to, put null equals 1. And he's like, what does that mean? And I'm like, you need to tell it what to put in there if it has an empty field. So null equals 1 could be unknown. It could be to be determined, whatever you want it to put in there for your algorithm. So there's a lot of noise still, and all of these issues when we're dealing with data and training the models. But it's really exciting how far we've come in the last 25 years with artificial intelligence, and I'm excited to be part of this revolution. Matter of fact, I just started my master's program in data analysis, which is artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Is that through the Wharton School? Just by curiosity. I noticed one through the Wharton School.
No, I'm going back to University of Maryland.
Oh, okay. I saw there was a similar program through the Wharton School.
Yeah, I was going to go, I have an opportunity to go to UC Berkeley, and I've looked at some other schools, but because I already went to University of Maryland and my time is limited, and the online ability of University of Maryland just really caught my eye. And then, of course, the cost of the master's program.
Sarah, can you please share an example of a successful AI implementation within your company that has significantly impacted your business outcomes or improved your customers' experience?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm a service provider. So I recently migrated a customer from Rackspace over to Azure. And because I am a startup and a small business, the artificial intelligence ability to go through, the monitoring of their environments and to track anomalies and user behavior has been instrumental in my ability to service customers quickly without having a team of thousands of cybersecurity engineers and analysts to analyze all this stuff. Has just been a game changer. Things that took me 4 hours to do, like, hey, we have a critical vulnerability that just came out. It's a 0-day, it's wormable, it's going to affect us like WannaCry. And, you're like, oh my gosh. But to manually do these things, it takes many, many hours, where artificial intelligence is able to do it in nanoseconds. It's able to tell me how many of my devices are facing the internet, how many are critical, how many have sensitive data, and then I can spend my time on remediating the vulnerability versus figuring out where my servers are, what do I need to patch first, because if you have 200 servers all affected by this critical vulnerability, I'm not going to be able to patch 200 servers in 24 hours, but I need to know those servers that are going to be entry points or have sensitive data or are facing the internet, and those need to be patched first. So it's just been really like a real game changer as far as triage time for my company.
And do you find with your clients, do you find any, I mean, you mentioned the law firm that you were, working with. Do you find any clients that are hesitant on using AI within your, application to identify these critical issues?
You know what? 4 years ago, yes. 4 years ago, when I came out the door, everybody was like, "You're not putting AI in my environment." They were really hesitant. The customers that I've been servicing, are a lot more comfortable with it because they understand after working with me the benefit of it. But I think over the last year, AI has just became more accepted, I want to say. And it's a lot of education. So we've been using artificial intelligence for decades already. It's just not obvious to, the average person. When you call and you get that phone service that says press 1, press 2, and it's voice recognized, you can use voice commands. I mean, that's artificial intelligence, right? So now we're just taking this model and creating more sophisticated algorithms so that the AI is becoming generative and learning from past mistakes or watching how we're doing things and then picking up from that. Like in my tool, for example, we're not trying to take the human element out of the work that we do. And we're not trying to take the deductive reasoning skills away from the engineer. What we're trying to do is, because we recognize there's a 540,000 person gap in the IT and cybersecurity industry, and we have more jobs than we have humans to fill them. It takes about 5 years to go from entry level to junior, and another 5 to 10 years to go from junior to senior. Well, we don't have that time. We need to use automation and artificial intelligence to fill those gaps in the industry. And I think people are starting to recognize that and embrace that. Now what we need to do is make sure that, we're writing algorithms and code that is not introducing more risk or there's no fail stops on it. For example, we don't want artificial intelligence making up an address and then sending a legal document out to a court, right? So it's the noise and handling that stuff that we're starting to get really good at in the industry. And artificial intelligence is as good as the people that's building it.
Yeah, I know within the marketing, world, there's a lot of controversy about, eliminating content writers as an example. And that kind of goes right along with what, you're partially using ChatGPT for. And, my philosophy on it, and I tell, clients and, have conversations with, others. I mean, we work with cybersecurity companies and software and tech companies. And, I've even had clients say, well, can we look at ChatGPT and come up with some ideas? And I'm like, okay, so it's about like, from my perspective, it's not hiding the fact that you're utilizing programs like this, as long as you're strategic about it. And, personally, we use it for ideation. So, coming up with those, we're creatives. Creatives get stuck just as easily as an engineer does.
And nothing's worse than staring at a blank page.
Exactly. So, you come up, you get an idea together, say it's, you want to write something about AI and you come up with, you need a bulleted list, but then we take that and, we still have content writers that we use to write it. And then, and then obviously if we need to add to it or expand on it, utilizing ChatGPT or other AI applications as well. I believe strongly in the fact that efficiency is key when it comes to both, client focused, from us to working with our clients, as well as, internally. In your case, you have to be efficient. You're a small business. If you have your own ideas, you need somebody to help. You have ChatGPT to help with that. So I think a lot of it is, like you said, with your tool, and obviously that's not content related, but, utilizing it in a way that provides efficiency and utilizing it in a way that, provides additional services to your clients without taking, 10 years to do it, and being able to, generate something that is in the end going to help a client out regardless of what that end goal is.
And the marketing guys that I've had here, and I've trained them to use it, they're just like, it's a game changer. I'm putting my own ideas in and it's wordsmithing it and making it, come alive. And so I view it the same, like even if we had robots making our hamburgers at McDonald's or whatever, right? People are afraid it's going to take jobs. I look at it as it's going to enhance your job. It's going to allow you to write more content for more customers faster. And there's ways to tell ChatGPT, this needs to be proprietary to me. Don't give me ideas that you've given anybody else. And with cybersecurity content, I need to be careful about what I'm putting out there. And is it always accurate? No. I'm like, hey, you're missing a step ChatGPT, and then she'll rewrite it for me, and that's where it's generative. So, but I'm not staring at a blank page, and I'm not taking 10 hours a day writing content and doing marketing and newsletters and emails. It's just really fast. And of course, I want to put this disclosure out. You don't want to use ChatGPT's public engine and put proprietary customer information out there that's going to cause a security issue now. Like I'm not going to put in my customers' names or my customers' networking information or even their proprietary marketing information that's proprietary to them. So we have to be careful about what we're feeding tools that aren't, internal or trusted to us. But if you use it as a tool or a crutch, then I think it speeds up your time to market as far as content goes. I mean, I have artificial intelligence here that's, internal to us, algorithms we've created, and it's able to do data entry faster than, somebody I would hire for $20 an hour to do data entry. It's just able to go through things like even like my reports in QuickBooks and like find inferences that I'm looking for. And it's just been a game changer here.
That's awesome.
I definitely agree from a content perspective. We use ChatGPT very frequently, but more from like an outlining perspective or to kind of give us a step up rather than totally replacing people. So I definitely agree there. So as a leader in the industry, how do you envision the coming years with AI evolving, and particularly in relation to marketing and customer engagement?
Well, marketing's a little less scary than the whole application of artificial intelligence. So I'm going to say some woohoo quantum computer type stuff. So the way I look at computers and artificial intelligence from a physics perspective, our brain uses electrical signals to communicate with the outside world and, every other piece in our body. Well, if you take an electrical signal and put it on a computer board, is it any different than the electrical signals on our brain? And I'm going to say no. So I'm going to say there's already a level of consciousness with just your laptop. So that's the scary part of artificial intelligence, is its ability. So like if I put electrical signals on the table, like it can only do so much, right? It can't walk and go shut the door or go turn a light switch off. But if it's on a computer and it has access to the network, can it reach out to a satellite? Can it go find another network connection? Can it talk to other, machines? And the answer is yes. So we need to be really careful, and we need to understand the physics behind computer signals and artificial intelligence. And like we're just learning about quantum computing and how photons that are split are connected forever. It doesn't matter if we throw one into outer space and we have one on Earth, they're going to be entangled. And so from a marketing perspective, it's a little less scary because we are using it for an outline, and we still need that human touch, because like I said, sometimes the stuff that comes out of it, I'm like, no, that's not accurate. And I have to wordsmith it for ChatGPT. But then it has a lot of color that I wouldn't put in it as an engineer or a new content writer, or maybe a content writer that doesn't have a lot of creativity. But now when we're talking about artificial intelligence to protect our energy grids and cybersecurity, or the chip that Elon Musk is creating, I mean, we really need to understand the physics behind the artificial intelligence that we're creating, because it could be dangerous. And I know I'm probably going to sound like woohoo to people, but that's how I really believe. And being a biochemistry major and studying physics, and studying quantum physics, I don't see the electrical signals on a computer board being any different than the ones in our brain.
I definitely don't think that's woo-woo. I mean, in my mind, it is an intelligence, right? So I feel like we remove ourselves a little bit from that. We're like, oh, look what this computer can do. But then if you actually think about, look what this computer can do,
build 5 laptops, all exactly the same, manufactured the same software, and based on the user interaction with the computer, they all act different. I mean, it's obvious to me.
Yeah, algorithms. Yeah, like if I can be next to my friend and she's on her phone, I'm on my phone, we talk about cat litter, she starts getting cat litter ads, right? And it's not listening, it's connecting our networks, like, oh, I know you're at this person's house, I know you're talking, I know you have a relationship, let's look at your data and see how we can use it. If you really break it down, it gets a little scary. I know I get a little freaked out sometimes.
What emerging AI trends or advancements do you find the most exciting, and how do you see them transforming the marketing landscape for the future?
I think that AI has grown over the last 5 years, like leaps and bounds. And ChatGPT is one of the better artificial intelligence engines that I've ever seen. So when I'm talking on the phone or I'm answering a LinkedIn message, I can't tell whether I'm talking to a human or artificial intelligence. And I think that's going to free up people to do more important jobs. So we're going to give artificial intelligence those jobs that nobody's doing, that nobody wants to do, or that are just time sucks. And it's going to allow, in marketing, people to focus on the more important things, like getting the content out, doing the touching with the people once we've already got that warm lead. So it's going to speed up our ability to reach out to people, educate people, in a way that we've never been able to do before, because we just don't have the bandwidth as humans. And it'll take the bias out of it to some extent as well, because as humans, we perceive the world based on our background and what we've gone through, and artificial intelligence will take some of that bias out. Now we can introduce bias as well, and we have to be careful about that. But I mean, humans are walking around, we're big conscious bias people, right? And so I think taking that conscious bias out of it will allow us to move a lot faster.
Yeah, it's like removing the human parts that we don't find helpful in those moments, but keeping the human parts we do want.
Yes.
So.
Now, I have a curiosity question. If somebody, obviously, you said you had hired agencies or people to help with social in the past, and you have some internal members of your team that also use, we'll just say ChatGPT, because like Canva offers it. I mean, there's tons of other options out there as well. Say, you're growing, you become a larger, organization. Now, how do you, how do you see ChatGPT, like say you have to hire a full-time marketing, I'm not sure if you have a full-time marketing person now or not, but if you had to hire a full-time marketing person, would you, embrace the fact that they would use, say, ChatGPT to develop all this like you do? And then if an agency came to you, because there's a huge controversy, within marketing agencies as to whether or not you should be using any kind of, generative AI, anything. And, do you see that and I know we've kind of gone back and forth on this, but do you see that, as a positive if an agency came to you and said, hey, we use this as this part of our toolbox, and, this helps us, bring together ideas, generate, content faster, obviously with adding our own, spin on it, because we, still have to have the human in the brand and the story in the brand. And then, how do you see the hiring of new people within, like, say, your organization, if you ever have to hire a full marketing staff, and how you embrace that internally?
So conscious bias, of course, I'm an AI fan, so I love it. I would hire a marketing agency that told me that they use generative AI to help them build content, because I know my content's going to be colorful. And if they said, but we're gonna copyright it, we're gonna edit it, we're gonna make sure that it's accurate, and make sure that it's a reflective of your tone and your brand, I certainly would embrace it. Now, I just had one of my advisors to the board come to me and say, hey, can you read my bio? Because she was going to speak on a panel. And I said, it sucks. Go put it through ChatGPT and tell it to give you proprietary information about yourself. And then she was like, oh my gosh, this is the best bio I've ever read. And so I learned about ChatGPT and the power of it from the marketer that I had brought on. He volunteered to work with me because he wanted to learn cybersecurity, and he was struggling with the cybersecurity and risk management. And then he would write me this content, and I was like, well, I thought you said you didn't know cybersecurity. Like, this is better than anything that I've seen a cybersecurity authority write. How did you write this? And is it your work? And he was like, well, let me teach you about ChatGPT. And so I was skeptical. I was like, how dare you? And then I started using it and being open-minded, and I'll never go back. So if a marketing agency doesn't use artificial intelligence, I probably wouldn't hire them.
Said as a true cybersecurity artificial intelligence user.
So in your experience, what challenges have you faced when you're adopting new AI technologies, and how do you go about addressing them and ensuring that they're successfully integrated within your company?
Training the model has been the most challenging, and coming up with new proprietary algorithms. Like I said, if the algorithm is looking for, let's just call 0 a nothing and a 1 a something. If the algorithm doesn't know how to handle the information it's receiving, it becomes noise, and we stand to miss something, or it doesn't know how to calculate the algorithm. So let's just say we have 5 servers in 3 different business units, all put together the same, all the same risk and they're all getting different risk scores. Why? Oh my gosh, a human didn't enter a tag on the criticality of the server, and the artificial intelligence is looking for that tag. So it doesn't know how to handle it. So it gives it an arbitrary score. And these business units are saying, well, why is my score -1, but this other score is 9, and they're the same exact servers set up the same way. And then we got to go search for what's happening with the data. We're like, oh, it just threw away this field because it wasn't filled out. Well, now we can turn that into a positive and an opportunity. Like, instead of throwing it away, tell us what fields are missing so we could go tell the human that, hey, they need to go fill this out properly. Or B, let's pad it with an arbitrary number so that we can get the same score, but it still flags that number as, hey, there was missing data and it needs to be looked at by a human. So those have been some really big challenges in artificial intelligence overall and training the model. Like I said, if you let it run, it gets really creative and it'll just say, oh, well, I didn't find an address because the human didn't put the address in. So I'm going to take 222 Whimsical Lane and just stick it in there. And we don't want that, especially in especially in cybersecurity or, healthcare or critical areas. In marketing, where you're going to look at it before it gets published, it's a little different. But where I'm making a decision on whether I should block traffic, I could bring down an entire production network because I think something's there that's not.
Looking ahead, what predictions do you have regarding the role of AI in shaping the cybersecurity strategy? And how do you believe organizations should be prepared to address these evolving threats and opportunities associated with AI-powered technologies?
I think it's going to pad that gap in the network of we're infiltrating the network with a whole bunch of junior and entry-level cybersecurity folks. I think it's going to allow us to bring those individuals in and train them, but still have full coverage and eyes on the prize, which is making sure that our data is protected, while still allowing the engineers to use deductive reasoning skills. We're not trying to take the deductive reasoning skills. Matter of fact, when I got into computers in 2000, a lot of talk was we had what we call black box, we call them black box monkeys, where they just monitored and the automation did everything for them, and we didn't allow engineers to think. And in 2000, we took that away. We said, no, we don't want this. We want engineers to think for themselves. And so I feel like we're repeating the past. We're bringing that back. So how we bring that back is going to be very interesting. Because again, we don't want to take deductive reasoning skills or the human touch out of the mix. So I find it filling that gap without us missing things that maybe a junior or entry level wouldn't recognize, while still allowing them to go through the steps of how we found it and forcing them to give it that human eyes on it. It's a fine line, because if you know the Google story, right? 5 people know the artificial intelligence algorithms that are used in Google. Well, if you talk to those 5 people, they'll tell you that the Google artificial intelligence algorithms have grown so much, they don't even know what new algorithms that the engine has created for itself. So we run the risk of AI running away from us, and that could be danger, because if the system says, oh, if I don't shut down the energy grid, there's going to be a massive attack against the energy grid. And we're like, no, we don't want you to shut the energy grid down. We want you to do X, Y, Z. So I think we're not going to need less people. We're going to need more people. We're just going to need people in a different space and area. And we need people's brains to change from, I'm going to do everything, to let the artificial intelligence help us with those decisions that we're making.
Yeah, I think, in our world, i.e. marketing, I'll go back to 7 years ago, I worked for an industrial manufacturing company, and we manufactured automated storage and retrieval systems for warehouses and distribution centers. And the whole big thing was, and of what we had to kind of put to rest, was that we're not eliminating jobs. We're not eliminating the pickers and the packers that go down the aisles and pick the soda cans and the boxes. And, we are taking something, we are making it more efficient. We're making the process more efficient, and therefore we're utilizing we're training up the people, the warehouse workers that would just be doing the picking and the packing. And there still are jobs that you still have to pick off a conveyor belt regardless, right? So I equate it to that, because one of the big, value propositions we really had to focus on was that we are not eliminating jobs in what we are doing. We are enhancing the skill set of the workers that are already there that might not have had that opportunity to be able to do that. And I think, in our world where right now, we're a small business as well, and, we're able to, hire people that then can focus. Obviously, we still have copywriters that are still writing content and copy. And, I even use it for ideation for webinars, because it's like, can you come up with a more creative topic other than let's learn about X, But I think it's taking people and providing their opportunity to become more strategic versus being in the weeds of, the finite details of, what's the punchline, what's the starting point, what's the, start, what's the end, how do I optimize this for SEO based on X, Y, and Z? There's a lot that goes into it. And I think,
what hashtags are trending today?
Yeah, exactly. Instead of searching literally for 5 hours on LinkedIn and Twitter of trying to figure out the right hashtag to use. It provides it provides people with more of a strategic ability to build out the end result, really. And that's really, kind of going back into like the engineers. You can hire them as a, right out of college, but then you can skill up based on, the fact that you're teaching them to be more strategic, because you still have to, in your instance, you still have to understand that there could, what to look for in case a server went down, or there was a, bug in a critical infrastructure, and that still takes somebody to verify and justify that as a
and we want the computer to do those algorithms that we expect, the repeatable things, because as good as I am, when I have to come up and look at 10 spreadsheets from 10 different business units that have millions of lines on it, and this has to be to the board of directors, within 7 days, I'm staying up 16 hours a day, every day for that 7 days. I'm a human. I could make a mistake, but I want that artificial intelligence to do things that I expect to be done the same way every single time, repeatable, measurable, so I can focus on what you just said, taking my knowledge of the systems and infrastructure and applying that and putting my time to stuff that's more useful for me to be doing at my pay grade. You don't want me sitting staring at spreadsheets trying to enumerate them for 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's not what you pay me for. That's what I end up doing. So I make mistakes and I'm like, oh, I was tired on that 7th day. It was already 7 days. And that critical mistake could be what allows the bad guy into our network. Am I good at what I do? Do you want me doing it? Yes. But can the machine do it better than me? Also, yes.
Yeah. And I think you just gave me an idea for a blog. AI never gets tired. Carly, write that down.
I think that it's going to make us more creative and smarter, and it's going to allow us to focus on the human interaction that we need to focus on so that we're not bogged down with the weeds. Because if you're spending all your day writing content to capture the human, once the human is captured, you're fatigued already, right? You're like, oh man, it was so hard to get this person. I feel like I've already told him or her everything via my reach out and stuff, but the human still craves that human interaction. So allowing the AI to catch the human, and then once you get the human, you're less fatigued, and now you're more excited to talk to the human because you didn't do all this work to get the human. So like I said, it eases up those repetitive tasks that we don't like doing, to allow us to focus on the tasks that we do like doing. Because, COVID's a perfect example. Nothing replaces 3D interaction. No amount of Zoom calls. I can't feel your energy on a Zoom call. So once I see you in 3D, it's a whole different ballgame. So I think the same with artificial intelligence. We still crave human interaction. We're social beings, except for me, I'm an engineer. But for the most part, humans, are communal individuals. So it's just gonna allow us to focus on the things that are more important for us to focus on, and the speed to get to that point will be a lot faster. Now, people that use like Einstein or whatever, or I don't know what it's called. I think it's called Einstein, but to use LinkedIn to reach out. Now, if you're pounding me with LinkedIn message after LinkedIn message daily and like, hey, why aren't you responding? Like, obviously you're using automation, you're pissing me off, stop contacting me so much, right? I mean, we have to be careful that we're not overly using this. But I can't tell if somebody's using Einstein to reach out to me on LinkedIn or if they're actually sending the message, unless they start pounding me twice a day, every day. So I think we're still working those kinks out, and we just need to train people that it's a tool. And when I went to school, we didn't have computers and Google. I had to go to the library and I had to search index cards, and then I had to go find the book, and then the book was not there. And I mean, I would have never thought in 2000, when I was working at Electronic Arts, that the world would be like it is today. It was unimaginable. But when my kids come to me and ask me a question, I'm like, well, go look at what did Google say, Go try to find the answer first and then come to me, and then we can talk about it. So
that's what I tell my team. I said, what'd you Google? What'd you Google?
Right. And our parents were telling us go to the library.
Yeah, or or sign on to AOL.com, and then you have that godforsaken dial-up noise. Yeah.
So the human interaction will always be there. I don't think it's going to take our jobs. I think it's going to allow us to go, look how far we came in 50 years just from the industrial age. Now we're going to be able to speed that up. In 50 years, we're going to be able to 5 times what we did in the past 50 years. And that's the exciting part. Healthcare, drugs, it's creating chemical and molecular reactions, and it is looking at all these mechanisms, efficiencies. Maybe it comes up with some technology that we can get to the moon faster, or we could get to Mars faster. I mean, the applications are going to be endless. And, how many nuclear physicists do we have in the world? Well, not very many. So if we take artificial intelligence, it's going to help us fill those knowledge gaps just across the board. And I think we live in an exciting time. I'm excited to see what happens in 20 years. Like, you think about flying cars, right? And maybe they're not that high off the ground. Maybe they're like 100 feet off the ground, but you're like, oh my gosh, there's going to be chaos in the sky. We're going to be crashing. But if there's an AI system doing the logistics of the routing and the, autonomy of the flying so that we're not flying it, I mean, okay, now I don't see everybody crashing in the sky, or like, it's a game changer. I know I keep using that word, but it's going to be like the internet. And I don't think our brains can consume this in a human way. I don't think we understand what it's going to do for the world. And I think we're going to look back in 20, 50 years and say, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine the world we live in today. I probably won't be around for 50 years, but if I am, I'm going to say that.
We're all going to listen to this podcast episode in the future and be like, oh my God, we had no idea at the time.
We're going to walk around with neurochips. We're going to be half droids and half human.
You know, sometimes I wish that were the case when I'm laying in bed at night and I come up with 25 ideas and can't remember them by morning. I'm like, can something just read my brain?
Or when you're in the shower and you get your best thoughts.
Well, Sarah, if somebody wanted to reach out to you on social or get connected with you, where is the best place to reach you?
The best place to reach me is email. Contact at solontek.us, SOLONTEK.us. I'm always on email. Can't always answer the phone. My customers have a dedicated bat line or knock line that they're able to reach out to me. Social media, I try to get on there every day, but I have to admit that I don't have an artificial intelligence admin fielding those. So time escapes me, and I'm here, writing policies or building an SFTP server or building a Windows server or a domain controller. I do a lot of migrations from on-prem solutions to Azure Cloud. Also building Valkyrie, my platform around my customers' environments. We have a backlog and a waiting list for Valkyrie, so we're introducing it to our managed service customers first. But we're hoping that it's generally available to the public by the beginning of next year. We didn't expect to have such a interest in it this early on. We thought we were going to have a lot of downtime to build the product, but as it turns out, it's very interesting to people. Usually I'll go to a managed service customer meeting and I'll ask them where their pain point is, and they're like, oh my gosh, keeping track of all these different standards and controls and implemented controls and policies, and my eyes are crossing. And these are senior people telling me this, and that's why I built the program to begin with, because that's the pain point I had. So it's really exciting that eventually this tool will help us keep all that stuff straight. I mean, Microsoft got on with us and helped us work with their neural language program. So it can read the policies and then go check and see if the technical control is in place. So it could read the policy and say, MFA is required for all users. And then it'll go check the systems to see if all users have MFA applied to it. So there's so many things that we're continuing to discover as we build Valkyrie, and having partners like Microsoft and of course our customers help us, build it around them has been really phenomenal.
Well, and now it's our favorite part of the show. Can you share with us your favorite cocktail?
Yes, and I'm sorry, I don't have an actual cocktail. It's early in the morning. I have coffee. But I love fresh fruit and fresh vegetables. So I love anything with blended fruit in it. And one of my favorite cocktails is just a simple margarita with fresh strawberries and some tequila and some lime in there. I even try to throw like a splash of spinach that's unrecognizable to anybody, just so I could get my vegetables at the same time. I'm not a drinker. I drink a few times a year. But even when I'm not drinking those mocktails, I'm always blending up berries and strawberries and creating those fresh drinks.
I'm going to put spinach in my margarita next time. See if my husband notices.
Yeah.
No, just put like four leaves in there and blend it really well. He will never notice. I do it with everything. Like with my kids, I blend it in the spaghetti sauce. I'm like, you're not going to eat vegetables? My kids are grown up, by the way. They're probably your age, but like with my grandkids, I'll put the vegetables blended up so good in the spaghetti sauce and they don't even notice.
Just add it to cocktails. Good to go.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode. Tune in next time for another special guest and, of course, more cocktails.
Don't forget to grab your favorite drink and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Marketing Mixologists Pod.
Cheers.